Your home for our Atlanta Falcons, Hawks, and Atlanta United. Your teams play here. Sports Radio 92.9, The Game.
All right, there's a couple of things going on, and we know the trade deadline is next Tuesday. Happy Halloween. It's Dukes and Bell at Sports Radio 92.9, The Game. We're talking about the NFL and the trade deadline. So, Mike, if you are one of the teams, okay, and we're going to include our Falcons with this, okay, because Mike and I were just talking, and tell our audience what you just told me about what's going on up in Nashville.
Yeah, there's a story out of some website that follows the Titans that says that apparently DeAndre Hopkins canceled a autograph signing thing that he was going to be doing, and some folks are feeling that he could be out the door in almost like next 36 hours. DeAndre Hopkins obviously is getting up there, but he could be a huge weapon for a team like the Ravens or the Chiefs or, take your pick. They've already made a deal with the Eagles, sending their best safety, so why wouldn't they send a guy like D-Hop if somebody's be willing to take on that contract?
This sets up perfectly, guys.
I'm
just telling you right
that's why
now.
I said to you at the top of the hour in the Falcon Report. I mean, look, we've all heard from guys, and guys will try to put on a brave face. But when people start to fire sale, it is a bit demoralizing. Now, younger guys are going to play their butt off because they're trying to earn a spot. But for some of the dudes, it's like, well,
D-Hop went there,
out.
Yeah, with the intention that, hey, I'm playing with D. Henry. Defense is going to be good. Either way, that's interesting. So, Mike, some of the teams that may be on the fringe, okay, which I think a lot of people look at us and they go, well, what are the Falcons going to do? We're not talking about Philly, okay, or Detroit or Dallas, teams that you feel like are really good right now and probably are playoff teams. But I think for us, when we look at the trade deadline, The Athletic listed a couple of players as the Falcons' dream target.
Right.
And the one guy is the guy you've been talking about for at least 2.5, 3 weeks now.
Yeah, that's Danielle Hunter. Again, leading the NFL in sacks. Was it 9 right now, Chris, for the Vikings? This dude would give us, I mean, you want to get in there? We're doing everything right now, but getting there consistently. Danielle Hunter would be great. Now, you'd have to give up a lot to get him. I wouldn't want to give up a first rounder, but they'd expect a second rounder and I guess a third or a future third or whatever. It'd be expensive, but Carl, you'd then have to turn around and give him money because he wants a contract. But hey, of all the guys that are out there, that's elite pass rush. That's not Ray Edwards from a couple years ago, Carl. Okay, this is a dude. And it's not even Dwight Freeney, who we got at the end of his career. This is an edge rusher in his prime. This is a dude that would really be everything we're looking for right now on that defense, which, let's be honest, has surpassed all expectations.
It really has. And I'd love to get him if it was possible. I think sometimes you look at our team, and here's the thing that Terry Fontenot has to weigh, okay, regardless of what deals. Think about the deals we've made. Van Jones, high reward, low risk. Or Jefferson, excuse me, Van Jefferson. I think, Mike, when you do a move like this with Danielle Hunter, if you were going to do it, where is this team? Like, how does he put us over the top? And do you feel like if he does, then it's worth what you're about to invest? Well, that's the thing you've got to think about.
Well, two things, man. If you get him, that's one less thing you have to draft next year. Although, let's be honest, we have all these we got young guys. If you feel Ebiketie is going to take okay, maybe not. You could get a Danielle Hunter. Go get the best edge rusher in the draft, and you haven't had that on this team ever.
You're talking about going into next season?
Yeah. Going into 24. Let's be honest, guys. Patrick Kearney and Rod Coleman. Coleman was an interior lineman, technically. John Abraham never had anybody on his other side. The closest we can get to that is when Chuck Smith and, Lester Archambault were doing their thing in the old bomb squad. So I'm just saying, you got to go back to the Grits Blitz in 86. You've not had the two dudes. We've never had bookends at the edge rush. I mean, elite guys to do that. That would get me excited, guys. Unless you'd like to, maybe try to upgrade on McGarry. Although McGarry's got a deal, it's in place. You like what you got with the rest of your line. The only thing you really need right now, Carl, is that edge rusher. I mean, they might even trade. Who is it we talked about? Waters might get traded, right? I mean, I always say Trey Waters. Trey Flowers could be on the chopping block.
The corner.
And we might send him potentially in a deal. That was part of the Athletic article. SI's got a number of rumors that are out there. Adam Thielen could be going up to Buffalo because the Panthers aren't going anywhere. They're dead in the water.
No.
But it just makes a lot of sense. I know we don't get the kind of action you get in baseball or basketball, but we have seen a few years in the last 5 where the NFL has got things cooking. But the thing is, Danielle Hunter would be here we'd have him for 5 years. He'd have a contract with us.
I think so.
If you're interested. And I would be.
If you can acquire him for a second-round pick, I'd do it right now. If you're saying, I need a first-rounder, you got to think about the only time you get first-rounders is young quarterbacks.
Right.
And you think about the deals that have been made for the most part. It's rare that you get that for even an edge rusher of his likeness, Mike.
But here's a guy, though, 3-time Pro Bowler, 80 sacks, and he's 28.
Prime.
Turns 29 this season. Now, some would say, well, I'd still roll the dice.
I would too.
He'd be the best edge rusher since the Predator was here, guys. We got Dwight Freeney at the end, but he did help, obviously, Vic Beasley get 15.5 sacks that 2016 season.
In the NFC, just look at it from this standpoint. Philly, they've already made a couple of deals. They wanted to help their back half, and they did it right in acquiring the Titan safety. Dallas needs wide receiver help. Let's be honest. That's something that they're talking about, and Jerry's being, coy about it. Oh, you got to call us. Detroit, I don't know if they need anything. I'm talking about real contenders. If you think in the NFC, these are teams you're going to have to go through. San Francisco, guys, it's just about them getting healthy. Once they do, they have a great roster. I don't think they acquire or make a move. Seattle, I feel the same way. But for us, if you were to say this might be the difference between 11 and 13 wins, Mike, based on what we're projecting, because you acquire a guy like this and it costs you a second rounder, I'd do it right now. And that's where I'm at.
But I would think, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. If you use like that units thing we talked about during the draft, it would probably be a second rounder, maybe. Here's the thing:
plus,
would you be willing to give up 2 second rounders? One this year, one next year.
I would.
I would totally do that because you can always find a way to finagle a second rounder yourself. I just think, guys, that's just something we haven't had. The defense is great because, again, guys, in all likelihood, Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, the way the contracts are drawn, these guys are all gone. These are all pretty much one-year deals in essence.
Yeah. 404-726-0929. You think Miami's a contender? What are they looking at? What's Buffalo? Well, Buffalo is another team. They just got to get healthy. Like that is how I'm viewing this, Mike, when you say, where does a move like this take a team like us? And where does it put us? And I think it makes us a real contender.
Here's the question real quick while we're doing the look at the numbers. Von Miller is making $20 million at age 32, and he's banged up now for Buffalo.
Has been.
Bosa set the market at $34 million.
Correct.
Myles Garrett makes $25 million. What would a Danielle Hunter, and it's spelled Daniel or Danielle, but it's Danielle. Jamaican roots. What would you pay him? That's the question. And what I read, we got the cap space moving forward.
Well, we do, but Mike, it's more than 25 a year.
Right.
Because he's that premier. He's one of the top premier guys.
And that's why he doesn't have a contract now with Minnesota. So, Minnesota's a little cheap. That's why they moved on from Dalvin Cook, and they're going to move on from Danielle Hunter.
I think we mentioned this the other day. Guys, we're talking about potential trades. Next week, trade deadline. We don't know if the Falcons will make a deal. If they were, what are we looking at and what would make sense, which is why we're talking about Danielle Hunter. But, Mike, we were also talking about the edge rusher from Carolina, who they say is not going to be available.
Brian Burns.
That's another guy that you go, all right, young enough. Can he impact the game? But Carolina has said, we're not interested in trading him. And you're going to hear a lot of that. I mean, the Raiders came out and said, we're not interested in trading Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, I'm trying to get out of there.
I mean, Brian Burns is 25, and the Carolina Panthers, if they're going to trade him, they're certainly not going to trade. You wouldn't think in the division.
No.
But because they're so dead in the water right now, they're going to have the first overall pick if things hold right now, Carolina. And they're not going to draft a quarterback, so they can go get in that edge rush business or trade down and build. And that's how they would do it. You trade out of one and build up and go get the edge rusher you need.
404-726-0929. Follow Mike. He's Mike Bell, ATL. I'm at Put 'em Up. See Dukes in this radio show. It's Dukes and Bell 929. And also follow this radio station at 929 The Game. Watch us, guys, on YouTube and on Twitch. Twitch.tv/ATL 929 The Game. You can do it each and every day.